we're back.
We're here.
We're here. Yeah, last week that sucks. What now was missing? But he's here this week.
Welcome, everybody, to the Lynn and Scott and Friends show, as we all see it, right here on our regular Tuesday nights. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for tuning in. Whether you're watching, I want to remind everybody, please share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and we love having your feedback and your suggestion on topics, too. So please, as we're talking, if you have a suggestion for something you'd like us to talk, we've got such an eclectic group of people that we can handle most any topic. I don't want to say every topic because
most is pivotal.
Yeah, exactly. So give us your suggestions if there's something you'd like us to talk about. But hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for allowing us.
I trust everybody had a great Thanksgiving and a nice weekend.
Very much so.
We're all in the Americans here, so we've got our tradition. I was talking about Thanksgiving with Mary Kay the other day, and I forgot she's in Thanksgiving, or she's in Canada. She's in Canada, and I'm talking about, well, why didn't you have turkey? And she's like, I'm in Canada. We don't.
Yeah, they had theirs early. They had theirs early. And Rex is here. He's in the background somewhere, but they're still having this speaker hero's journey after this, which is a really cool thing going on. So
that's still going.
Yeah, that's still going on, and maybe Rex will talk about that later. So I know Rex is here doing his magic stuff. So
all right. Excellent.
Anyhow. I'm glad you picked this topic because it's a magical time of the year. The reason for the season is, as we know, is Christmas, and Jesus is the reason for the season. But it's also just a amazing, a miracle time of the year. So imagination and thinking outside the box is also a great time to speak of that as well.
Well, I wish I brought it up for nice, pretty reasons like Christmas or something.
No, I know.
I really brought it up because the truth is most people bore the hell out of me. When I talk to them, they bore me. They're so narrow in their thinking, and of course, with what's going on in American politics today, there are so many people that are so narrow in their thinking. They're thinking along party lines, not along what's good for people lines.
Or humans.
Nobody's thinking outside the box. Everybody's just trying to not make waves and go along with the flow. And that's nothing good comes from that. I mean, it's what happens. You become stagnant. When you have stagnant water, it gets nasty and stuff grows in it. We need people to be thinking and to be creative. And we've got this great melting pot of people in our country. We should be able to do amazing things, but so many people are just staying in the lane and not thinking and not being creative. Use your imagination, think outside the box. I'm not saying you got to be a creator of everything every moment, but step out of your comfort zone every once in a while and dream a little, do something. I am tired of being in conversations and being bored with people. I also want to, before we finish, I also like to send out condolences to my friend Lacey's family. She got the COVID with the pneumonia, and she got that, and within 3 days she had passed away. It was just a shock. She was a beautiful, healthy young woman with a beautiful family, and so Lacey, to you and your family, my thoughts are with you. But anyway, so I just wanted to get that in there. I didn't mean to bring everything down, but
no,
I just wish people would just tap into this great creativity that all human beings have, to think and to just have ideas, use your imagination, and look at things differently every once in a while. It's a pet peeve of mine to continually have the same conversations with the same people every day, and nobody wants to make waves and come up with ideas and to just blossom. And I see great talent going to waste, and it's a shame.
What?
Yeah.
Well, Rex. Hello, Rex.
Hello.
Well, I'm glad you brought up this subject because that's why I love the fact that I picked the topic or picked the title for our show. And that's why we have these amazing people come on the show with us, is that as we all see it, because people forget that it's not black and white. It's just not one way. It's, depending on where you're standing in the pendulum of things, everything has a different point of view, a different take, a different way the sun is hitting things, and we forget that we all don't have the same lens in how we see things, and yet depending on who you stand with, for some reason some people are not allowed to have the voice to say how they see it because of where they're standing. And that's why I love the fact that we can come here and share where we're standing, what we're doing, and speak. And every week we say our piece, and we all come from different directions at a topic, and we share it. And that's why we all have a voice. We all should be able to speak where we're at, and we should all see it different ways. So being creative and bringing a topic, and the way we evolve with it is, we do sometimes think outside the box, or like John said earlier before we started, sometimes if you want to stay in the box, it doesn't matter. But let's bring it all to the table and not be afraid to discuss these things. That's what all my programming and shows are about, is let's talk about things that people are not talking about. That's why relationships, Barry's running late, he'll be here, but I deal with relationships and people's relationships. We take people for granted. We take relationships for granted. We see each other and we don't elevate or show gratitude for the relationship. And then, like your friend, and I'm sorry for your loss there, Scott, but what does it take to lose the thought of your friend? And then you're going back to saying, when did we have a good conversation? When did, you have to go back to your memory of a good time, because the last time you may have wasted the time you had with them because you took for granted all the times you had with them,
Right,
and we need to shake it up, wake it up, people. We don't want to be here always.
And it's funny that you said that, Lynn. It's one of those things where someone texts you, and I'll text them later. How long does it take to text them?
And you might not have later.
2 seconds, 3 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, and not to be morbid, but like the kids are out. They're like, "Hey, Dad, I'm out." I want to say be safe. If I didn't say be safe, and God forbid something happened, I know you don't want to bring down their revenue.
But no.
But to flip it on the other side, this Friday, I am playing Santa Claus for the 25th year at the Clarendon Hills. Not that everyone's going to be there, but the point is I just texted a bunch of my buddies on the fire department, because what happens is, long story short, why am I Santa Claus? I'm a tall, skinny white guy. Not that Santa is a big, fat black guy, but that's beside the point. But so they asked me to do it, so I did it. So we go 25, it's got to be 25 or 26. We're trying to figure it out. But the point being is, the effect you have on people, you will never, ever, ever understand. Last year, fire truck brings me in, man, there's 200, 300 children. You feel like Justin Bieber. They're grabbing at you. They want you. You're holding babies. You're doing this stuff. And some lady came up to me last year, and there was a grown man sitting next to her, full beard. She's like, "Santa, how are you?" And I'm like, "This is a little weird." I said, "I'm fine." And she showed me an ornament. And the ornament was me and her son 3 months after he was born.
Aww.
Now he's 25 years old.
Wow.
So my point being, I'll never stop doing this. The point is you never know, pardon me, what effect you have on people.
Mm-hmm.
What the babies that will crawl up on me and hold and not want to leave will be 25 years old. So whatever they've done, whatever impression Santa Claus has done to them, man, every day's a gift. Everything you can do for them, the memories these kids have, and I know Friday night when I do it for the 26th year, it's you can't. I can't even explain it, but you just can't understand what the impression you have on people.
Yeah,
know you have an impression on people, and take that impression and go with it.
Wow.
Well, this is a perfect example of imagination, because John Horton just compared himself to Justin Bieber. So this is a perfect example
You know
of
what?
thinking outside the box.
I am the biggest Cher fan in the world. I've been to 3 of her farewell concerts, and I think she has a restraining order against me. But besides that, you have to understand, you may not know what impression you have on people, but they know what you do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I thought the lady was
going
going
to jump
to say
in and
Santa.
say something to be the glowing CD or DVD right there, because you can't see me. So first I want to say deepest condolences, Scott. And John, I want to say, wow, what a beautiful gift you are to all of those people and all those children. And what you just said about, everything, each day is a gift. Well, yes, each day is a gift. Each person is a gift. Each conversation is a gift, whether they go the way you want or don't want. Everything is a gift. If you're alive, it's a gift. The problem with most people is that if you want to think out of the box, there's 2 ways to do it. One is open the lid or be outside the box to begin with. So for most people see what they want to see. They recreate in their minds what they think is going on in the world, and then they see it in the world. It's, we have this kind of perpetual cybernetic loop of projecting onto the world what we think the world is as it comes to us through our neurological filter. The only way to get outside of the box is to be willing to entertain things that you wouldn't normally entertain. The only way to think out of the box is to somehow suspend your filters, either through meditation or through some principled practice that allows you to become more aware of the things around you and aware of the thought processes that make us, or what our projections are, so that we can say, I can choose. Do I want to continue to project this, or would I like to do something other? But short of that, we're going to do what we've always done because we're conditioned to do what we've always done. But when John says, it's a gift, if you realize just how true that is, that it is a gift, then for God's sakes, enjoy every part of it. I always come back to the, to the scripture that says, rejoice, this is the day the Lord has made, rejoice and be glad. And it doesn't say to be glad in some of it. It doesn't say to be glad in, just the good bits. It says, rejoice and be glad. So, we're here tonight to talk about imagination. And imagination, there's visualization, which is to recreate or reimagine what you see. And then there's imagination, which is to imagine that which you haven't seen yet.
Yes.
The only way to behave in a reality is to be able to conceive of that reality before you could behave in it. It's kind of like, in order for me to be where Scott is, for example, I have to be where Scott is. I can't be, I can't be where I am and be where Scott is. So the only way to do that is to be where he is. So that means in my mind, if I want to begin to do something in a new way, I need to be able to first conceive of that. I need to be able to imagine doing it in a new way. I have to allow myself and give myself permission to do that, or to see it, or to tell myself that, or to feel it, or be it, So, you obviously, if you're using your imagination properly, you are already outside the box. But some people use it to create more trouble.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I know somebody that's watching here, and I'm not ousting them. And don't you dare message that. We're not telling on who this is, but
Okay, it's me.
No, but they were imagining a situation. Oh, I'm gonna have to. Got somebody coming in the house. Yeah.
Ruff.
Well,
It's okay. It's just talk. They're just talking.
Okay, so this person was waiting and waiting for something to happen good in their life, and for a family member to show up to be closer to them. And the family member showed up closer to them. And it's been a few years that the person was far away. And as soon as they, this is something that they had hoped would happen. And as soon as they got closer, instead of rejoicing and being happy that they were closer, they came to me, and all they were doing was bitching about some of the situation of them being closer. And I said, wait a second. without going through the whole thing, I was like, this is what you've been waiting for. And now you're complaining about a different situation, which is no big deal because that is so minute compared to the big dream and wish that I've been hearing you wanting for the last couple of years. So let's look and, be happy with the wish that you wanted, that you got, and forget. Why are you keep dwelling on the sadness or what you don't have with what you do have? So they imagined it, they got it, and now they're imagining the problem, which is very small compared. So they had to reshift the fact that, still looking for a problem when they got their wish. And so it's just a shift in realizing that you don't always, what you get your wish, you don't always have to find a problem with what you wish for either, when you imagine it. So they had to shift, and they were excited when they realized you're right, because there is the blessings in getting your wish. But it is funny how people still find something to bitch about when they get the big blessing that they've been wishing for, or their imagination comes to fruition, and yet, they find problems with it. So
Very much so.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, the whole thing about imagination, it starts with the word imagine. And the beauty of the word imagine, it automatically throws you in the creative side of the brain, thinking in pictures and really starting to blossom what's available to you. And so that's what's so wonderful about imagination, is being able to imagine anything. I had a little situation today, actually over the last couple of days, and this is a combination of thinking outside the box and whatever. And one of my coaching compatriots said, the only place where DIY doesn't work is in coaching. You suck as your own coach. And so I thought outside the box, and I called a buddy of mine today because I just needed a little guidance. And we went through some different things, and it was amazing. But again, that's a little bit of when it's what you do most of the time, you tend to kind of get mired sometimes in what you do most of the time. You get caught in it yourself. And so he had a couple things that he said. The one of, DIY works a lot of places, just not in coaching. I mean, it just really, it was like, okay. And then it was funny because he said, where's your favorite spot in the world? And I said, oh, that's easy. It's on a catamaran in the British Virgin Islands. He goes, tell me about it. And I just started detailing things, and I could see those pictures, and I could see that stuff, so much so that I actually did a live on it today and just said, as coaches, we encourage people to dream. And the reason that we encourage people to dream is so that they have something to focus on that gives them that outward desire. And we tend to get what we focus on. So when we dream, we tend to do that. Now, how wonderful when those dreams turn into memories, that you've accomplished them and you've already come back the other way. And so I did a live on that today, and it was really interesting how people have been responding to, and you're right. I want to build more dreams. I want to have more imagination in what I'm doing, so I can have greater memories because I've accomplished those things. And so it's interesting that this happens to be the topic, and I was the subject of the topic earlier in the day myself.
And
Perfect.
It's great to see grandparents and young children together, because it's, the grandparents with their memories and the little kids with their imagination. It's just such a beautiful thing, to see that, and how that, and then if the child themselves, the middle one, can see that and capture that, it's just an amazing thing that can happen for, we've got amazing things going on all the time. And like you said, Scott, it is BS when people cannot it's not recreating the wheel, but it's just relighting igniting the light within each and every one of us to just share. And
we have a time where obviously we need a whole bunch of creativity because we're facing things that recall we've ever faced before.
Yeah.
I mean, we've faced stuff before. I just
Yeah.
don't think we've faced this level of stuff, this diverse, from so many different directions and all these different things. And so I think it's going to take some creativity and some imagination to get through some of this. But it's interesting. I did a radio show in Australia the other day, and I said, my platform's really simple. It's to return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet. And the guy went like, oh, that's so amazing. I'm like, I don't really know that it is. I mean, I just think it's a good thing for many of us to strive for, right?
Well,
I mean, I appreciated his enthusiasm toward it, but again, I think if we would, we've got to return some of the. We don't have to return everything from the past, but there are some things that we could return that would be very helpful for a lot of freaking people.
it's
Common decency. It just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
It's become a novelty, though. It's a novelty to be a good human, though, because so many people are just cutthroat. Think of, what's in it for me instead of what is it really to give. Some people, well, let me have a solution, but the solution for them is really for the return of what they get out of it, not. So it really is, things do have to change, and they just have to.
I wish there was some sort of answer as to why we're going in that direction. Scott, I agree with you. I mean, we're facing things that we've never seen before. We're seeing some of our old sins come back to haunt us in new ways. We're recreating racism. We're recreating prejudice. We're recreating some of our worst things in today's society, plus the added stress of being so technologically forward that we've actually created things that are now replacing jobs, as in AI and things like that. All these horrible things that we've ever thought about are all coming. And what we truly need now, more than ever, is somebody to step up there and say, well, what are the possibilities of what we can do? And nobody thinks that way. I'm not going to say nobody. That's not a fair statement. A lot of the people that are in position to make a difference aren't thinking that way. And that's what's really hurting us. We need people to step up and say, what are the possibilities? What can I do? I've got the word imagine tattooed on my arm underneath John Lennon here. Because if imagining for me, it's all about believing in possibility. And I can only think, because I can't say for sure, because I truly don't know what's in other people's hearts. I could guess, but I really don't know. I can only guess that lack of imagination is a lack of faith in oneself to make a difference. And if you have the faith in yourself that you can make a difference, even in a small way, like what John was just talking about, showing up and being Santa Claus, the belief that makes a little bit of a difference allows us to let that creativity flow. It's when we start to believe that we really don't matter and what we do doesn't count is when we fall in line like lemmings and we don't do anything. So maybe that's what's missing. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to jump in and be the glowing CD here. And that is, there was a song popularized years ago that said, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. I mean, it pretty much says exactly what we need to do. When there's hate and intolerance and discrimination and disparity of access and wealth, we should eliminate that. And we should accentuate the positive, meaning that everybody has equal access to resources. Everybody is equally treated well and fair. Everybody is, accepted regardless of their religion or their nationality or their skin color or their gender or who they identify as or what they identify as. Come on. We're one species on a bubble encased by gas floating around the sun at 60,000 miles an hour. We should figure out that, that the idea of hating each other and having these skirmishes over border issues and control of what part of this little rock that we're on matters, ultimately we just either, fade away or destroy ourselves, or we learn to get along. I opt for the last one. Let's just get along. We can, but we have to accentuate the things that we like, the things that are positive, the things that are good, the things that are pure, the things that are, that help each other and ignore or eliminate, the negative and the stuff that we don't like. It's all a matter of what you allow to get magnified in your head. And when somebody gets really hateful and hurtful the way we see happening, it's because they allow these messages in. First off, they don't stop the messages from going inside themselves. They entertain them. And then what you entertain grows and magnifies. So it's like taking a magnifying glass. So suddenly something that was insignificant becomes this, extreme position that someone takes. And it's through exposure, it's through repeated exposure, it's through, the entertaining of less than glorious thoughts and words and behaviors that make these, hate habits. And we can be cured of that. But what it requires is a good dose of love and a good dose of understanding that if I deserve it, and a lot of people don't think they deserve it, that I deserve it first, but so does everybody else. We're all deserving.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I saw a video the other day, and it actually was quite illuminating. And they were talking about different religions. And they said, it's not too hard to believe why they're different religions. If you're born in the United States, it's probably Judeo-Christian. Right. If you were born in India, you're probably a Hindu. If you were born in, Southeast Asia, you're probably a Buddhist. If you're, and so everything, he broke it down to maybe, I don't know, 7, great religions based on regions, right? And so you are a product of the environment that you grew up in and the location thereof, right? And it was just a fascinating way of putting it that I had never, it simplified it tremendously.
Yeah.
As to why do certain people think certain way? Why do they have certain religion? So it goes on past religion into then thought process and different things, because that's what their parents thought, and that's what they learned from that's what was downstreamed from that generation before. So it's not too hard to figure out. The one thing that you would think would be happening through the advent of the internet is, there's a whole lot more information available, a whole lot more places. There's still some places that don't have that information, granted, but there's a whole lot more information. You would think that there'd be more critical thinking going on as opposed to less. You'd think that people would take this influx of information and think about it more critically and then make a determination on it as opposed to
Let me ask you a question, Scott. Why would you think that? I mean, what leads anyone to think that because there's a platform that anyone can use, that it would go to the higher side of things rather than the lower side?
Well, Rex, because I'm a freaking optimist.
There you go. There you go. But that's the point. Keep promoting that. In other words, if you want it to go high, you have to promote the high.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what I'm saying is it's the same with the concept of respect, honor, and dignity.
Right.
You have to promote that concept for people to go, makes some sense. I think I'll grab onto that and I'll work to implement it as well. Right. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, but it is the more mature I get, again, code word for older.
That's the way to put it.
Yeah.
But wait a second. The older you get, the more beautiful you get. Look at that beautiful Van Dyke you're sporting.
Well, thank you. Thank you. How perceptive
That's why
of you
I'm
to know
hiding behind this icon, because I can't compete.
Once again, how perceptive of you to know.
Marvelous. You're looking marvelous.
Well, thank you. No, the where was I going with all that?
You're all flustered. And now there's Barry too. Hi, Barry.
No, it really was coming down to, the one thing I realize is how potentially naive I've been through all this, because there are some evil people in the world. I mean, and I never used to believe that. I actually believed most people were good, there were a couple bad guys around, but not the plethora that there seemed to be. And but again, it's all part of choice of decision and things like that. So that's why, I mean, as I was saying it, I heard you getting ready to rip me with that question there, Rex. I knew that was coming.
Well, let me.
But you didn't say anything about Barry's manure. So,
What did I miss?
The horse in the barn, but
welcome, Barry.
Welcome, Barry. I want to say this though, and then I will pass. There was that story about the old lady who never said anything negative about anyone. Perhaps you're familiar with that story. And they tried and tried and tried, and they go, "What about so and so, and what about such and such, that kind of thing?" And they could never get her. And finally, one person said, "I know, she can't say anything good about Satan. She'll never say anything good about the devil. This is her downfall." So they said, "Hey, lady, what do you think about Satan?" She stopped for a moment. She said, "Sure is busy."
I love it.
So,
and with that, hey, Barry.
But
Hey.
even the evil people in the world serve a purpose of providing contrast so that we know what not to do, who not to follow, what not to, in other words, yes, it would be wonderful if that wasn't there, but these things coexist. And so since they coexist, we can use them as examples of how to be different and how to be better and how to rise higher. Sadly, some people follow them into hell. They just perpetuate the same thing that the person is doing. But a lot of that has to do with what we were talking about before, about what people allow inside their head and where that's coming from, and the media and the national and where they may be brought up in different things. So with that, I pass.
Well, what I heard.
I want to say something real quick, because if we're going to point out evil, we're talking about a very small portion. This is what I believe.
By comparison,
I believe evil is very small. I believe our biggest threat is insecurity, because what happens is that if I'm not secure in the fact that I'm a circle, every time somebody calls me a square or shows me a triangle or an octagon or whatever else, if I'm insecure about me being a circle, I become very combative towards all those things. I get angry about those things. I don't want to, that's why, Scott, when you were saying about all this information coming at us, for most people, that information is dangerous. Why? Because it offers too many new ideas into a very closed mind, or a mind that's insecure and it can't see all those other things. It has to debunk them to make my own existence work. And that's, I think, that is the biggest evil out there. It isn't actually the evil like Dr. Evil and his little mini-me. It's actually people who are just so insecure about themselves that they have to fight all other ideas about anything else. And that's where I think we end up with our prejudice, and we end up with all of the problems that we have. And when somebody's in that state of the unsurety about their own existence, it's impossible for them to use an imagination to reach beyond themselves. So I think it's really our truest battle, I think, is for people to be comfortable in, you are who you are, and that's okay, and it's perfectly fine to be you. And as soon as you can accept you can accept the rest of the world. But as long as you don't accept you and believe in you, then every time you see a square, you think it threatens the fact that you're a circle. And we got to be careful about that. I don't know if that makes sense how I put it, but I know there's some evil characters in the world, but the truth is evil has no power without the minions that follow it. And the minions are the people who are insecure. That's why we see the things that are going on even in American politics today, because there's minions that follow without because they're afraid. They're afraid.
I just want to add a sentence to that, and that is, I agree, especially to the extent that some people will call a particular person dangerous. That person's danger stops at the end of their fist, essentially.
Yes.
But the followers who can carry out that person's, bad news is where the danger lies. Is that sadly people give away their identity to so-called leaders, cult leaders, political leaders, religious leaders, whatever you want to call them, military leaders, instead of understanding that they are to be a leader themselves and to be able to lead themselves to goodness,
Correct.
the kind of life that they want, instead of putting all of their faith in what I mean. I said I was going to say a sentence, but I'm saying a paragraph. I've spent a lot of time, with gurus and mystics in a master-disciple relationship, and people misunderstand that constantly, as if, do you give all your money to the guru? Do you do all these things? And the answer is absolutely not. That's not what the guru expects. Not a true guru, not a true master.
Yeah.
Asking you to, it's like when Jesus said, give all your stuff and to the poor and come follow me. He wasn't saying you actually had to do that. The question is, are you willing to do that? In other words, it's a willingness to say, I'm not attached to these things. It doesn't mean you can't have them or you have to give them away or that you have to give them to the guru. It's just that how attached are you to these things? Because if you're not willing to die to your family and die to your friends and die to them and, and choose a new life, then what are you willing? You're not willing to do anything.
Yeah.
Sadly, some people misinterpret that to say, I have to follow this person. I give them my money. I give them my cash. I give them my soul. I give them my faith, and I now become their foot soldier. And that's sad. That's spooky. That's not what's intended.
And we've seen people in world domination positions, and the only power they have are the masses that they gather who follow them blindly. And why do they follow people blindly? Because they're too afraid to think for themselves, because of their own insecurities.
And this is why world leaders should just wrestle it out and let everybody else stay at home instead of going to war.
Thank you. Yes.
I think if I
Friday
remember
night fights. Bring back the Friday night fights.
There was a Star Trek episode, I think, when they actually did that. They beamed the leaders of a country to one place on their own, let them figure it out for themselves.
And then bring them back.
They can do it in WWF. They can do it in world politics.
Right. A couple of things I want to add to this, because one of the things that you said. Well, first of all, little reminder. There's a quote. I think I shared this on the show before. I'm not sure, but about the idea that someone tells you to go to hell. I just simply say that Satan still has a restraining order against me, so I can't. So
actually, and I also heard that lady that never said nothing negative about anybody. Actually, somebody said something about Satan. She said, "What about my ex-husband?"
Oh, nice.
Ouch.
Okay.
So a couple of things, but using the Bible again, this thing, because what hit me when he said about Jesus talking to the disciples, to his followers, the quote in the Bible about it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. That's a misquote. The Bible isn't actually accurate that way. That's because it's translated through 7 languages. The original Aramaic, translated to English, explains that the needle it's talking about is the gate in the walls around Jerusalem, I think it was.
Correct.
And the fact is that when the raiders came towards the city, they would close all the gates except the smallest one, which is the needle. And the needle had a smaller gate within it called the eye. And in the eye of the needle, which is only a small gate, a camel can't get through unless it's on its knees. And camels can move on their knees. But the thing is, a camel standing up is too tall for the gate and it can't get in. And so also because it can only get through on its knees, it cannot carry all its heavy burdens, which a rich man normally puts on his camel. So the idea being is that for a rich man to get into Jerusalem through the gate required him to let go of all his baggage to get in through the gate. So the teaching in the Bible is the same thing as what you're saying with Jesus, is about, are you willing to let go? Not you have to, but you're willing to. So that's another piece. Yeah. But I want to speak to this thing about the leadership stuff. I'm going to use this one because it's on the plate. January 6th. A mass choice. And I don't want to say that those people who did that were evil, but they were misled. And the thing is, it's funny, I was reading about this recently on about a TV show about how the villain had a mission. The villain had a purpose. The villain was actually, you can actually have compassion for him because you saw where they were coming from. It wasn't about they want to destroy, except they were doing it to save what they thought was the right thing. And oftentimes some of these leaders, much I want to say it, have an altruistic or a humanistic feeling they want to do something, oblivious to how much they're hurting other people. And that's the thing, is that when we can, as you said, Scott, think for ourselves and truly trust that what we think for ourselves is worthwhile, we stop buying into what other people get telling us is the truth.
Exactly. And great leaders don't plant ideas. They draw ideas from the people who are following so that we can learn about. You draw the strengths out of the people. You don't just plant things there.
There's a book called Servant Leadership, which is a great book by, I think it's Greenleaf is his name. That book talks about how the true leader supports everybody below him.
And that's the thing. Being the president doesn't mean you actually get to do very much, because you got to answer to everybody. That's, doing things on your own is better off than feeling like you have to be the president. You can do and change and impact the world. You don't have to have a title in order to impact the world.
Looking at presidents of different countries, you notice who's really there to serve the community, the population of their country, versus who's there to serve themselves. In any country in the world, right now, there's a lot of stuff happening with the right-wing leadership in Europe. They're getting the vote, but they're not getting enough to win. It's really interesting watching the paradigms in Europe. It's really strange, but that right-wing perspective is because people are so fed up with what's not been happening, because they're not taking responsibility for themselves. They're saying, you lead me because I don't want to do it for myself, like you were saying earlier. When we learn to lead for ourselves, we don't keep voting for the pendulum, like left and right, left and right, left and right, which is what we've been doing for the last century. We start saying, I'm taking charge of my own life for a change. That's the real gift.
Gotcha. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's having that belief in yourself to just allow that imagination to flow free. Scott, I love your mission, and I love the way you present it wherever you go. And I think that's great about dignity and everything else. And these are words that have lost some meaning in today's society, I think everything is now based on who's right and who's wrong, as opposed to, you get a Democrat and a Republican in an airplane, and you've got two Democratic parachutes. One of those guys is going to die because they're too proud to put on the Democratic parachute to save themselves, because they're thinking along party lines. Or it goes the other way too. If it's Republican parachutes, the Democrats can say, I'm not going to wear your parachute. People don't think. We actually had a Speaker of the House who decided to cross lines to keep our country moving, and he got punished for it.
Yeah.
We're in the business of turning and blaming and doing all this stuff and creating this animosity to gain power, as opposed to playing on people's strengths and empowering people. We've lost that ability. I think we've gone a lot backwards in empowering. I've got a lot of friends and family who are in the LGBTQ community who are living in fear in certain states that they live in right now, because things have gone so backwards. Because it's like people who used to not have a problem with it have just been told, this is why our schools are messed up. This is why our children are a problem. It's because these people are trying to convert them. And it's just, holy cow.
Yeah.
Where is the thinking about, there's got to be people somewhere sitting around saying, how can we make this a better world? What can I do? What difference can I make by doing certain things? It's life is short. And like I said, my friend Lacey just proved that. Young woman, gone in a blink of an eye, she's gone. But she made a difference in the time that she was there. Because all these people on Facebook were going out there, were sharing pictures over the last several years of her work in the addiction community and the things she did to help so many people. It was beautiful to see that. That's not the norm, though, anymore. The norm is people just keeping to themselves and not reaching out and helping other people, or placing their trying to place their values on everyone else instead of just sharing what they have. I think this thing with Jesus in saying, give your things to, give yourself to others, give your ideas, share yourself with others, and hopefully they'll share with you. And that's how we all grow as a community and stuff. So like I said, Scott, I love it when you talk about your mission. Has that always been something that you've had with you? Is that idea of that mission, or is that something that developed over years?
No, it's really been, it's been a number of years. I bet you it's since 2005, probably early in my speaking days.
Yeah.
Because I just saw people seemingly fighting the wrong fight, if that makes sense. That it's like, why are we not working to get along with each other? None of this makes any sense to me. We don't have to agree with each other. That's utopic. That's not going to happen. There's a yin and a yang. There's always a one side and the other. But my goodness, why can't we respect each other? Why can't we honor each other for for what we do and how we do it, and listen to each other's position and go from there? It only made sense to me. And it's not it's not that complicated a situation, right? Respect each other. Everybody's got their opinion and their reason for it. Okay, I don't have to agree with it, but I can respect it, honor them, lift them up, take them up and really put them in that place. And then when that happens, dignity is formed around the entire result. And it just, one of the concepts I actually teach in sales training and in after handling objections is a concept called release with dignity. And the reason is simple. You're in a selling situation. You've done everything you can in a positive manner to get them to take advantage of your offering. For whatever reason, they can't take advantage of their offering. But I don't care who you are. If somebody's stated a great case why you should take advantage of something, and there's something holding you back so you can't take advantage of the offering, your dignity is in question, right? And so the concept of teaching people to release with dignity is really designed to give them their dignity back.
Yep.
Whatever was pulled from them inadvertently, not purposely, right? It's, that you can give them that dignity back so that at some time in the future, that prospect can still become a customer because you left them with their dignity. You lifted them up.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's, I think, where the whole concept came from. Was it just other sales organizations back in the day when I was doing a lot of this particular training would just beat the snot out of people. I used to call it caveman style selling, right? Bang them in the head, drag them to the table. and if you wouldn't buy, it's like, oh, you don't wear the pants in the family. And they would actually teach their people to say stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was demoralizing. It was belittling. It was all this stuff. And it was so not the way I do it or I teach it. And so it just, I think the term release with dignity actually kind of came out just in the process one day. And somebody kind of did what you did there, Scott. It's like, oh yeah, something that I can latch on to.
Yes.
And so people came back in. And so then I started, I've probably taught it that way for 20 years now. And it's amazing how when you give somebody their dignity back, even if it's not, again, it's not purposeful, it's not, any of those kinds of things. If you could just instill some dignity to somebody, if you could just honor them a little bit and say, you're a worthwhile human being. Thank you for our interaction today. But again, I think that carries over into so many different places. That's the smile in the grocery store, right? Why are you smiling at me? Because I can. Oh, good. Keep it up.
Right.
It's that same kind of feeling. It's like, why can't we have all these choices? Why don't we choose to be kind and gentle and loving and caring and all that mushy stuff, that guys like me aren't supposed to do, but guys like Barry love.
Dr. Love.
There you go.
But one could argue that it is the constant barrage of fear-mongering messages and hateful and hurtful messages that come out and leak out everywhere.
Yeah.
The statement "misery loves company" didn't get pulled out of someone's ass one day. It's because it's people commiserate around things that they don't like or things that they're afraid of or things that are depressing and they're sad. They just keep endorsing those and promoting those and perpetuating those. And as long as the mainstream media and everything else is dire and I mean, they're doing it for ratings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing, they say if it bleeds, it leads. Well, I'm all for press. I'm all for free press. I do think that most of the press, even though it's owned only by now 6 or 7 outlets, who have a huge monetary stake and a huge political bend to it, I still do believe that there are, journalists whose heart is in the right place. They're trying to do right and everything. But who said that we need bad news all the time? Who said that it's our right to be informed about every accident, not that we shouldn't report them, but when did it become mandated that we have a right to know all the tragedy that goes on in the world, but not all the good stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's, Rex, I think it's simple. If I put on a movie about Charles Manson on one channel and a movie about Mother Teresa on the other channel, where do you think the higher ratings are going to go?
Of course. Of course,
Yeah.
but that's not human nature.
Yeah.
That's conditioning.
Yeah.
That's
I would
conditioning.
Right.
Right.
agree with that, because if you really look at the 4 temperaments or the 4 styles or the 4 whatever, it's 35, 35, 15, 15. Meaning it's 35% of the population, 35% of the population, 15 and 15. And basically those sides will split between the positive and the negative for the most part, from that side. So the reality is mankind it does come. It's not the choice, it's the conditioning that we all of a sudden somebody figured out that pain sells.
Mhm.
And so it's
Go back to Edward Bernays.
Yeah, let's pick at the scab,
Yeah.
because it's got to, it'll create more eyeballs on it or whatever, which then create more revenue. And so it became a greed motive more than anything else. I mean, that's why it is. I enjoy good news networks or watching videos that show triumph or show success or things like that.
Yeah.
But again, that becomes a choice. I would rather put that stuff in my head than, the other. I mean, the real evil stuff is available to see if you want to see it. I don't know why you'd want to see it, but you can.
I don't know.
We need to wrap it up.
We do. We do. I mean, we're talking about imagination, thinking outside the box. We've really kind of morphed this more into kind of like the plight of the human condition at this point that we've created. We have created.
Well, we're thinking outside the box, Scott.
Yeah, we are.
Imagine that. Imagine
We're not conforming. Yeah, we're not conforming.
And as it's painted on the painting over my shoulder here, this is my John Lennon with the lyrics to the song "Imagine" around there, and just imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. He wrote this song as kind of like this utopian idea of, no more countries, and we take care of each other. Nothing to kill or die for. Stop using his religion as a crutch so we could hurt people with it. I mean, he wrote this song as kind of like this utopian idea. And the truth is, it's a very simple concept. It's about caring for each other and being kind to each other and showing dignity to each other, and to not judge by the clothes on your back, the color of your skin, or even the religion you were brought up in, not to make judgments on any of those things. It's a simple concept. For that concept to be so outside the norm of treating people as a whole brotherhood. Rex is right. We were on a spaceship. We're on spaceship Earth. We're all crew members going around the sun at 1 billion miles an hour. We all have a job to do. I mean, if it crashes, we're all going to die. So we may as well just get along. It's the sadness of the fact that is not something that we could look at and say, sure, we could do that. Every time you talk about doing something like that, taking care of people, oh, it's socialist, it's communist, it's this, it's that. Most people who use the word socialism don't even know what it means, but they've been programmed to throw it out there and say, you can't do that. That's socialism. That's communism. They didn't even study it. So it's a shame. It hurts my heart that people just don't let themselves be creative, be you, let others be them, put the ideas together. It'll be amazing what we can achieve. But let's go through and let everybody get their thoughts in. And Barry, sorry you came in so late on this one, buddy.
I wish at the beginning, but
I just feel like saying real quick is I forget that people forget that, you bleed, I bleed, you hurt, I hurt. And people forget, if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself, and vice versa. And if the world would just realize that we're one big human and we all are just have an expiration date, and we should all just realize that, we're playing the musical chairs here too. You're going around and you don't know when you're not going to get that last seat, and you're going to, like Barry would say, Star Trek, they might take you to the little back door and poof, you're backed up off the planet or zapped out of the earth here. But honestly, it's just, I don't know how much, we spent almost 4 years with freaking COVID and isolation and not having contacts with each other and stuff. I don't know how much more, wake up do we have to get with death and isolation for people to take humanity serious. I really don't know what else more we got to do, people. That's all I've got to say on wake up and just live for the moment.
Well, let's wrap things up a little bit. Rex, how do you want to wrap this up today, brother?
Well, I would say that John Lennon provided an invitation, but also a command. It's a command to imagine something. If I say, imagine this, I'm telling you to imagine it, which is what people don't do, and that is, what do you want to have people imagine? And he spelled it out. Imagine this kind of world, because if you can't imagine it, if you don't imagine it, you'll never have it. It will be what you do imagine. So here's the alternative, imagine this, and then we can create that if you will try, if you will do it, if you will be it, you can, if you be it, you can do it, you can have it. So with that, I'm going to say, hey, I got to get to the hero's journey, which is coming up on the hour. I'm going to give you the website here. I tried to do that earlier, but I think
it's in the comments.
Yeah, but I mean, the comments, whenever I tried to post it, it came up in weird spots. But the
heroesjourneylive.com. Perfect.
Yep, there it is. I've got it on here, Rex. As far as
okay, yeah. So it's my segment tonight, so I got to get going. And,
okay.
But love you all, and what a wonderful
love
time.
you.
Great
Thank you, Rex.
Happy Thanksgiving.
There it is. There it is too. Love you. Okay, well, we need to get out of here.
Well, Scott.
Yes, Scott.
What's your wrap up on this?
Well, I think a big part, again, it is about imagination, and if you can't imagine, if you can't dream, what are you focusing on? You get what you focus on. And so there's got to be a target of some sort. There's got to be something that you'd like to have. We all have the opportunity, and yeah, it's going to take some thinking outside the box as to why we want to do this. But again, it goes back to some critical thinking. And it seems like we might want to practice more of that along the way. The critical thinking will help us make some great choices along the way.
Absolutely. Barry?
I grew up reading science fiction, and so that trained me in the idea of what if, which I love. And the idea of thinking out of the box matches that for me. The thing is that I would say, first of all, one lesson in life is, can you give more than you get? Can you give more than you take? Because that can change your paradigm. The second thing is, one of my favorite silly songs from Monty Python is always look on the bright side of life. Another good one to remember. There's another possibility. And the other piece I'm going to say is that it's the thing that people forget is they can think. Most people just go, well, I'm already told this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. Like, if you just stopped and thought for yourself for a minute, is this crazy? Is this sane? Is this workable? Is it good? Is it going to help other people? If we start questioning what we're thinking as an idea, we might just change direction. So think
absolutely. I love it. Listen, folks, if you believe in a limited life and a hard life, it's yours. If you believe in it, it's yours. If you believe it's going to be something different, it will be something different. But you got to pull that from in you, let it out, and believe in it. Believe in it. Lynn, as always, you're the best, babe.
Well, love you guys. I'm blessed to have you guys here every week. John apologized for leaving. He said work called, so I guess mortgage after hours. I don't know.
Those late night mortgages.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to ransom next week about that. Well, I won't be here next week, but you guys will. So, anyways, love you guys, and we'll see you guys later. Have a good one, guys.
Bye, all.
Love you. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Keeping me safe.